To bring in Sean Wu, former federal prosecutor and former counsel to the Attorney General in the Clinton administration, and Sean Trendy, senior elections analyst for Real Clear Politics. So, Shan, let me start with you. This could come down to whether the Justice Department will get involved and charge any of these Trump loyalists for not complying. Everyone keeps saying, okay, well, ultimately, it's all going to go to the DOJ if there's ever going to be a criminal charge here. The Attorney General has been reluctant to appear partisan. So there's been a lot of uncertainty about whether that will happen. So, Shan, do you think that Merrick Garland's DOJ will or will not pursue criminal contempt charges?
I think ultimately they will, Aaron. I think this is a real litmus test for this DOJ. They certainly are very worried about the way the Trump DOJ debased and hurt the integrity of the institution. And they're scared that they will look partisan. But ultimately, in a case like this, with the lack of any real legal defense, I think they're going to step up and do the right thing.
So one more question here, Shan, on this. The White House counsel says the National Archives documents are going to be released 30 days after notification to the former president, absent an intervening court order. Now, this is the whole issue of executive privilege, right? And the Trump administration wants all this stuff kept private, right? And the Biden administration is refusing to do that. So do you think President Trump will take this issue of executive privilege to court, and how will the courts rule?
I think he will try to take it to court as long as he can afford to pay his lawyers. I think that the courts are going to rule against him. Executive privilege, unlike other kinds of privileges like doctor-patient, lawyer-client, they aren't personal to the president, meaning he doesn't carry it around with him afterwards. It is a privilege that is for the office of the president, and he is not president anymore. So it's really up to the current administration.
It's pretty amazing, though, the precedent that it will set when the shoe is on the other foot for the Democrats. Sean, I want to ask you, because politics is just so core to all of this, of course. It comes as CNN reports more and more Republicans are using some of the strongest terms yet to defend Trump's role in the insurrection. Republican Congressman Jeff Van Drew, who left the Democratic Party in 2019, was asked if he thought Trump was responsible for January 6th. He said, quote, "I do not. I think people are responsible for their own actions." And the reality of it is, of course, Sean, is no one's more popular with the Republican base than Donald Trump. So are we just going to see more and more Republicans, including those who are very critical of the president after January 6th, now just get in line?
I think there's kind of two things, what the politicians say and what they do. On the one hand, yes, the Republican politicians are defending President Trump. He remains very popular in the Republican Party, as you said. And at the same time, we live in a country with these districts where they probably have more to fear from their primary than from the general election. At the same time, if this were a fight that Republicans wanted, they would have voted for this commission. They know that this is not what they want to be talking about heading into the 2021 and then 2022 elections. So, I think they don't really want this fight.
Right. And yet this fight dominates things, in part because the former president is saying Republicans shouldn't even vote if we don't relitigate the last election before the next one. I mean, it's pretty stunning. But, Sean, what about Democrats? When you look at independents, I'm sorry. I mean, I understand independents tend to, say they're independent, but generally vote Republican or Democrat pretty consistently. But independent voters are the biggest bloc. Where do they stand on this?
Yeah, most independents, we like to say, are closet partisans. They say they're independent, but they always vote for the same party, like you said. For the independents, though, the true independents tend to be not very politically engaged and kind of go with the wind. So when the political conversation is about things like inflation and supply chain shortages and things like that, it hurts the Biden administration. That is why Republicans don't want this discussion, because as soon as President Trump interjects himself or is interjected into the national conversation, those numbers can change very quickly, because the former president is not terribly popular with independents either.
All right. Thank you both very much. I appreciate your time.
Good to see you.
All right. And next, Sanjay Gupta talks to